The Seine River drifted silently beneath the gray light of dawn as Paris slowly awakened to another cold morning in the year 885 AD. Fog rolled across the water. Church bells echoed softly through narrow streets, while smoke climbed from rooftops into the autumn sky. Fishermen prepared their boats beside wooden docks. Merchants opened market stalls behind the city walls. Life moved peacefully through the heart of the Frankish kingdom. Then the river began to disappear. Dark shapes emerged from the mist one after another. Long, narrow, endless. Ships. Massive Viking longships cutting through the Seine like predators moving toward wounded prey. Black sails swelled beneath freezing northern winds, while dragon-headed prows sliced across the water with terrifying purpose. Oars struck the river in perfect rhythm. Hundreds of them. Nearly 700 Viking ships. The largest Viking fleet Europe had ever seen. People rushed toward the walls in panic as the true scale of the invasion became visible. The river was no longer water. It had become an army. At the center of the fleet stood Siegfried, the Viking warlord leading thousands of Norse warriors into the heart of Francia. Hardened men from Scandinavia. Raiders raised on war, storms, and bloodshed. Men who had spent decades burning monasteries, slaughtering defenders, and terrorizing Christian kingdoms from England to the Mediterranean Sea. Europe feared the Vikings for one reason above all others. They never stopped coming. Kings had tried everything: armies, fortifications, negotiation. Nothing worked for long. Most rulers eventually chose the simpler option: pay them. Silver had become Europe's shield against Viking violence. Entire kingdoms handed over treasure just to survive another year without fire and death. And now, the Vikings had come for Paris. The Norse fleet anchored beside the city, while thousands of warriors poured onto the riverbanks carrying shields, axes, spears, and swords stained from years of conquest. Smoke from Viking campfires quickly surrounded Paris from every direction, while terrified citizens watched from behind stone walls. Then came the demand. The Vikings sent messengers beneath banners of truce, asking for silver and safe passage through the city. The message was simple: surrender peacefully, or watch Paris burn. The decision fell to Count Odo, the military commander responsible for defending the city. Tall, relentless, hardened by war. Odo understood exactly what the Vikings were truly demanding: submission. Because tribute never bought peace, it only delayed destruction. Every payment made the Vikings stronger. Every surrender invited another invasion. So Odo refused. No silver, no surrender. The answer spread through the Viking camp like fire. Then the war horns began. The sound thundered across the Seine as thousands of Norse warriors lifted shields and roared toward the bridges protecting Paris. Arrows filled the sky. Viking ships surged through the river, while Frankish defenders hurled rocks, spears, and boiling pitch from towers above. The battle exploded instantly. Longships crashed against defensive barriers, while Viking warriors climbed ladders through fire and smoke. Axes smashed into wooden gates. Flaming arrows ignited rooftops. Men fought hand-to-hand atop narrow bridges slick with rain, mud, and blood. The Seine itself became a graveyard. Bodies drifted through black water beneath burning wreckage while screams echoed between the city walls. Still the Vikings attacked. Again, and again, and again. Their primary target was the pair of fortified bridges protecting the heart of Paris, As long as those bridges remained standing, the Viking fleet could not fully enter the city. The Northmen understood this, so they attacked relentlessly, day and night, trying to break the defenses before winter consumed the battlefield. But Paris refused to fall. Frankish defenders repaired shattered walls beneath constant arrow fire. Priests carried water to wounded soldiers, while exhausted citizens hauled stones through smoke-filled streets. Every church became a shelter. Every alley became part of the defense, because everyone understood the same horrifying truth. If the Vikings entered Paris, there would be no mercy. Weeks turned into months. Winter descended upon the Seine with brutal force. Freezing rain transformed the battlefield into oceans of mud. Disease spread through both camps, while funeral fires burned constantly beneath the dark sky. Horses starved beside ruined villages. Rot filled the air, but the Vikings did not leave. This was no longer a raid. It had become a siege of extermination. At night, thousands of Viking campfires surrounded Paris like a circle of fire. Norse chants echoed through the darkness, while starving citizens prayed inside weakening walls. Food grew scarce. Fear spread faster than hunger. Children slept beside armed soldiers, while smoke from burning homes drifted through the streets. Then, disaster struck. Months of Viking attacks combined with violent flooding weakened one of the smaller bridge towers defending the city. Cracks spread through the stone, while defenders desperately tried to reinforce collapsing foundations. Then, during a storm-filled night, the bridge finally began to break apart. The Vikings attacked immediately. Norse warriors surged through freezing water beneath flashes of lightning and firelight, smashing into isolated Frankish defenders trapped inside the collapsing tower. Axes crashed against shields in total darkness. Men fell screaming into the icy river below, while blood washed across shattered stone. By sunrise, the tower had fallen. Its defenders were dead, their mutilated bodies displayed before the walls of Paris as a warning. For the first time since the siege began, the city looked vulnerable. The Vikings believed victory was close, but Count Odo still refused to surrender. Instead, he made a desperate gamble. Under cover of darkness, Odo escaped the city with a small group of riders and crossed through Viking-controlled territory searching for help from Emperor Charles the Fat, ruler of the Frankish Empire. Paris waited in terror. The defenders continued fighting, while Viking attacks grew more violent with every passing day. Entire sections of the city shook beneath constant assaults. Fires consumed homes. Exhausted soldiers collapsed beside broken barricades, while church bells rang endlessly across smoke-covered streets. Then at last, the emperor arrived. But what happened next stunned everyone. Instead of crushing the Viking army, Charles the Fat chose negotiation. The emperor agreed to pay the Vikings massive amounts of silver, and even allowed them to continue raiding deeper into Francia if they abandoned the siege. After nearly a year of starvation, slaughter, fire, and sacrifice, the empire simply paid the invaders to leave. To the defenders of Paris, it felt like betrayal. To the Vikings, it proved something terrifying. Europe was weak. Its rulers feared war more than humiliation. Its empires survived not through strength, but through desperate bargains made with enemies at their gates. The Vikings had not simply attacked Paris. They had exposed the weakness rotting inside the heart of the Frankish Empire itself. And long after the Viking fleet vanished beyond the Seine River, Europe remembered the year when 700 ships emerged from the morning fog, and made an empire tremble in fear.